Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Palladium Fantasy Book 8, The Western Empire. Today we are going to talk about the politics of the Western Empire, the structure, the hierarchy that fuels all of the empire's good works or bad works or just works. Let's just get to it.
Oh,
All right. There it is. So, Western Empire is said, with some dismay, to be the heart of the domain of man. It is a predominantly human kingdom that has been a world power for thousands of years. Unfortunately, it does not present the image most humans, especially those in other kingdoms, would like to epitomize human civilization. The Western Empire seems to have always been corrupt, decadent, and conniving to some degree or another, and these attitudes and loose morals found their way into Western politics. Under the table deals, bribes, favored treatment for a price, secret pacts, exploitation of loopholes, and the letter of the law when it serves them, and the selective enforcement of the law. Trade agreements, pacts, and broders are all part of parcel when dealing with the fabled empire. You forgot about dumb summoners. Jeez. Corruption is rampant, although usually very organized corruption. It's advanced corruption, people. Advanced. All right? There's guilds of corruption. No, there's not. But there should be. Satisfactory bribes in the right hands can expedite almost anything, as well as circumvent taxes, tariffs, fees, fines, imprisonment, penalties, and proper procedure. Not all nobles, leaders, and bureaucrats are corrupt, but for the right price, at least 60% of them will look the other way or make exceptions to minor, harmless matters. However, a good 25% are rotten to the core and can be paid off, bribed, and hired to do just about anything that they have the power to accomplish. This can include tampering with or stealing evidence, paying off officials, forging documents, spreading gossip, helping friends avoid criminal charges, and smuggling goods and people in and out of the city. A favorite, arguably harmless bit of political chicanery is to alter documents to show less volume or value on a taxable trade good. Pay the official 20% of the normal fee, and he'll usually reduce the recorded value by up to 60%, saving the individual 30 to 40% in taxes. Of course, this cheats the city and imperial governments, but many corrupt officials justify their actions by citing how rich and greedy the nobles are already and how strong the empire is doing. Thus, no harm, no foul. So the idea behind this is, well, everyone's doing it, so it's okay if I do it too. Not exactly what I like to hear, but okay. And then we go social classes. Here we go. Social classes. This is important. And here we are. Many outsiders argue that the Western Empire's system of government is blatantly unfair, with a super rich and powerful elite or aristocracy and disproportionate poor common folk. While there are some appalling ghettos and slums in the empire, most common people earn very good livings, whether they are farmers, laborers, or skilled craftsmen or merchants, and feel very safe and happy. Merchants, practitioners of magic, select guilds, and many churches comprise the middle class. They are moderately wealthy and influential compared to the nobles of the Western Empire, but are considered very to extremely wealthy by standards of most other kingdoms. It's kind of like in the US. Like our lower middle class and upper poor class compared to middle class in other countries are better off. I mean, even the lower middle class or upper lower class in our country has access to clean food, clean water, electricity, heating, all that stuff year round. Many other countries, their middle and lower class do not have access to all that stuff all the time or even at all. So it's all a matter of perspective. And that's what they're trying to get at here. It is the very poor, sick, or crippled, and slaves who live in abject poverty and appalling squalid conditions. Not all Western towns and cities have these poor, but the ones that do are terrible. Most live in slums, shanty towns, or crumbling ruins. The majority are condemned to lives of begging, scavenging, and the most menial and unpleasant, low-paying jobs of labor. Now, this is like Depression-era shanty towns or Dust Bowl nonsense where stuff has gone real wrong and there's no jobs for you, there's no money for you, there's no food for you. You just got to stay in the woods now. That's where you live.
Okay, I apologize. I missed the beginning of what you're saying. Is this the norm for
No.
people? Okay.
No. It is the extreme not norm.
Okay.
Yeah. In many cases, the authorities avoid going to the slummy parts of town, as do tourists, visitors, merchants, respectable citizens, and even priests. I get it. Nobody wants to go to the bad part of town.
San Francisco.
Pretty much all of San Francisco and Portland and Seattle.
Los Angeles, Washington, D.C., Chicago. Oh, wait, sorry.
Basically blue cities. But yeah, I get it. No one wants to go there. Consequently, the worst brigands and most reprehensible and dangerous dens of inequity are found there. Taverns and gambling halls exist by the cartload, pawn shops lending 10 to 20% of the true value, drug dens, houses of prostitution, all races, usually ugly and worn out, so they are cheap. Sometimes a drink or an act of kindness will do it. Death cults and other forbidden cults in churches, privately owned and legally operated arenas, blood sports, and meeting places for gangs and criminal guilds where one can openly hire thieves, drugs, forgers, assassins, and other scumbags. Robbery, duels, brawls, murder, dangerous magic, illegal practices, the black arts, and drunkenness are an everyday occurrence in most slums. That is true everywhere.
But they make it a national sport.
Exactly. Here, it's a refined kind of slum. They really know how to slum. Your country, slum amateurs. Western Empire, slum aficionados.
I would say hold my beer, but we'll just take it.
Yeah. I'll steal your beer. There it is. Ironically, 20-30% of the slaves, mainly educated and skilled servants and craftsmen, live better than these poor and nearly on par with the average citizen. Slaves who are slaves of a middle class or higher family live better lives than free people who live in the slums. That makes sense. I get it. And then we have the political structure. 4 distinguished levels of nobility: the imperial house, regional house, provisional house, and city-state houses. Let's go over it. The imperial house is the supreme power of the Western Empire. Whoever runs the imperial house is emperor of the entire nation. This concept stems from the Western Empire's early days, when the realm's warlords fought amongst themselves to determine who would rule over them as the ultimate leader. Usually the strongest warlord acted as emperor until someone killed captain and gained rank. The imperial house is still the mightiest noble house in the land, asserting its power over the other nobles for the greater good of the empire. Sometimes a rival noble house might usurp imperial power, but more often, power is transferred to a named heir, usually somebody in the same house. So while individual emperors come and go, noble houses can hold on to the imperial seat for generations. As long as you have a line of succession in the house, you can keep your house in power over generation after generation after generation. The current imperial house is House Itomas. When the previous emperor, Sealan Zeketri IX, died, his family line died with him. Having no heirs, Zeketri named the closest supporter, young Lord Vulcan Thomas II, as emperor. Thankfully, Thomas had just come of ruling age when he died, so he didn't have to bother with any regent nonsense. Like all noble houses, the Itomas clan has its share of friends and enemies, blah, blah, blah. It doesn't matter. The imperial house is the best house, is the highest house in the land.
Robot house!
The entire kingdom. It's kind of like the federal government. It supersedes state bullshit. All right? And in many cases, in most cases. And then we move down to the 12 regional houses. They're listed in a rough order of current political power and influence. Most are actually fairly equal to one another, so this list is a bit deceptive. Like, the difference between, say, the 5th and 6th entry is maybe 1% in power or reach or whatever. It's not a lot. The regional houses are kept close in power on purpose. So none of them can outright destroy another one without forming alliances, which would cause alliances to be formed on the other side, which would turn into a stalemate.
But there are also like backdoor things like, oh, I might not hold the army, but if you want to be fed, the farmers of my land, you know, or farmers, hunters, gatherers, whatever, need to you need to keep them placated. So
Yeah,
sure.
sure. The regional houses, known as houses major, second tier noble powers, each control one of the empire's 12 major regions. The complexity of regional politics and administration make regional nobles almost as busy as the emperor himself. However, not all regional houses take their duties as seriously as they should, so some regions are well maintained, other regions are barely maintained to the minimum standard required. The minimum standard being you must have a standard defense, you must have a standing defense force, and you must always make tribute to the emperor as for taxes. That's the bare minimum that you have to do as a regional lord. But all of these regional lords, them and their houses are only lesser to the emperor's house and the emperor himself. In their specific region, they are the main power.
So effectively a king. I mean, it's not a sovereign nation, but still, I mean, it's effectively a king.
Like a duke.
Okay.
Right? Like the king's brother would be a duke or some other nonsense, or an archduke or something like that. Controls an entire, 1/12 of the empire is under his direct control. Now, if the emperor says do this, well, you do that. But if the emperor says nothing, it's your call, and that's it. So there it is. That's the regional houses, and here they are. I'm not gonna talk about them a whole lot, but there they are in list of from most powerful to least powerful. But remember, when you get to the regional houses, the difference between 1 and 12 isn't as great as you think. But then we have the provisional houses. There are 49 of houses minor. These are the minor nobility. Each governs a single province within a particular region. So we have the entire country, which is ruled by the emperor and the imperial house. Then we have the regions, which are the states, and they are ruled by a major house. And then we have the counties, which are the provinces, which are ruled by minor houses. Okay, great. The provisional houses of a particular region may all vie for power against each other, but must show loyalty to the regional house whom they serve and are related to. Usually the minor houses are like branch families or cousins or whatever of the major house that rules over the region. Each reports directly to the presiding regional house. Like the imperial houses role among the regional houses, the regional lord's responsibility is to keep the houses minor in line, i.e. paying their regional and imperial taxes, obeying imperial troop levies and mandates, contributing to the regional army, and so forth. Provisional houses tend to the matters of regional business, trade, economics, and the day-to-day routine of running of their province. So the provisional house, let's say this house is in the province they rule is farmland. That means they're going to be in charge of importing supplies and exporting crops to the rest of the region to and from their particular province. And as long as that system is running just right, the regional lord is happy. And if your regional province has a trade city, as long as money flows in and out of the city, goods flow in and out of the city, there aren't any fires or major wars started here or whatever, then the Lord is happy. And you can keep doing what you're doing without much oversight. But you start screwing up, the regional lord's going to look at your province and go, I might have to get someone else to do this. And you're like, oh no. Because the minor noble houses can be just destroyed by a regional lord. Just say, nope, I cancel your house. Bye-bye.
You've been evicted.
Yeah, you're evicted. Or the head of your house has to step down. Someone else has to take his place. He's been too ineffectual or too stupid, or he didn't do what I say. Stuff like that. Happens all the time. But The more it happens, the more destabilized the region becomes, and then the emperor is not happy because your region is destabilized because your provinces suck. So you
Yeah,
see
that's why I
there.
was kind of surprised about the 12 regional rulers. Like, some don't take the job as seriously. It's like, there are only 12 of you. If you can't get your kingdom, I get that you might not have resources available. That's fine. You can be poor, but the fact that you can't keep it in check, we got a problem.
Yeah. So like I said, a couple of the 12 regional houses and regional lords do the bare minimum.
Yeah, that's
That's bad. I agree, but it depends on where the emperor put the minimum. Did you make it low, middle, or high bar? Middle and high, if you do the minimum, the country's still doing okay. But if your bar is low, like the minimum is like surviving, then that's not good. That should not be the minimum. But that's the way it is. Provisional nobles aren't usually closely watched by the presiding lords of the region, which encourages these lesser nobles to do as they please with little fear of retribution. It's you don't get noticed if you don't screw up. Minor nobility doesn't get noticed. They stay on their small amount of land, and they are in charge of the peasants and the farmers and the merchants and all this stuff in their little area. And as long as nothing is getting screwed up, as long as nothing's on fire, there's no civil wars or revolts or strikes or whatever, the regional lord doesn't care. You keep the equivalent of trains. You keep the caravans running on time, and the higher government doesn't care. So it lends to corruption because as long as you're not overtly screwing up, there's not a lot of oversight. So your provisional lord can, do all kinds of nefarious nonsense as long as it's kept from the ears of the regional lord.
I'm
Since the
sure the
Reconstruction,
regional lord uses that to his own advantage too.
yeah, most likely. Since the Reconstruction, provisional power and abuses of power have been seriously curbed and relations much improved. Oh, that's nice. So for the last 88 years, it's been lessened. As much as old timers grouse about not being able to abuse their station as easily as they did in the old days, the truth is that not even Emperor Itomas can change a dark tradition that's as old as the empire itself. So abuses of power do persist, but not as bad. Like, oh yeah, we had a lot of kidnappings 80 years ago, but now there's like 20% less kidnappings. That's
At least
better.
they shut the door before they do the
Yeah,
dastardly
that's
deeds.
better, but it's not good. There's a difference between better and good. You're not at good yet. You're at better, but not good. Then we have the city-state noble houses. On the bottom rung of the noble ladder are the city-state houses, better known as the local houses. A city-state house's jurisdiction typically covers a single city or 1 to 3 large towns and or the surrounding villages, farms, and lands on a particular small region. Due to the heavy urbanized nature of the Western Empire, city-state jurisdictions often come right up to each other, forming a patchwork quilt of small noble territories. On average, there are roughly 21 city-state jurisdictions per province, for more than 1,000 city-states throughout the realm. Okay, let me say this in a different way. Low level nobility, like knights or viscounts or whatever the lower baron is called, whatever. They're like mayors. They control a city and its surroundings, or a couple of cities, and whatever.
Or county commissioner.
Yeah, or a county commission, perhaps, yes. But small regions, each county is divided up into about 21 separate smaller regions, and each noble, minor noble, like a knight or a viscount or whatever, is going to run these small regions. Like mayor of a city, Like the mayor of Chicago, the mayor of Detroit, the mayor of LA, they would be considered city-state nobles. There you go. City-state houses control what would be the modern-day equivalent of a U.S. county. There you go. See?
Oh, I didn't even read that. I had a cat in my face.
Thus, these nobles involve themselves with the day-to-day minutia of their territories and city life. That means making sure the roads are repaired, free of bandits, and the sheriff's department periodically gets new weapons and armor. Blah, 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 blah. Like I said, each level going down, your scope is smaller and smaller, but the necessity for you to be hands-on is greater, because the smaller your territory, the more that can actually screw up your entire territory. Whereas the emperor, he just handles whole country stuff, but the city state houses have to handle every piece of minutia of an entire large city. That takes work. That takes skill. And some people aren't skilled in doing that. That's where the corruption comes in. Local houses abuse their power and resort to violence to settle disputes. If you're not good at it, you just start killing folk.
Or just shut off the water to your village. Screw you guys, we want it.
There you go. Yeah, stop the irrigation until the strike is settled. You get no water. There you go. Warfare between rival city-states gets provisional and regional houses involved in local politics more than any care to, and leads to scandals and or disfavor with the imperial house. This can bring serious repercussions and harsh regional military intervention. Especially belligerent or habitually troublesome local houses are often dissolved or destroyed by the presiding provisional or regional house, which then determines a replacement of the local leadership. Like I was saying, the nobility level above you can dissolve an entire noble family beneath them. You're not a noble house anymore. You're all commoners. And you and your family, you're the new noble house. You're in charge of Chicago now. Or Illinois, whatever. So it can happen just like that. So you do not want to rock the boat at all. You don't need it. You don't want it. So if another city-state is attacking your city-state, either by trade or even by force, then you just have to make sure that they look like they're going to destabilize the region. And then the provisional lord will step in and smack them down. And if he can't do it, the regional lord definitely will. And then we have the quick breakdown of all the houses. I'm not going to go through that. The
map's kind of interesting, though.
Yeah, the map is interesting.
Oh, I didn't realize they had both sides of that inlet.
Yeah,
okay.
I mean that's the reason they need a strong navy, because they are a peninsula basically.
And when you showed the map previously, for some reason I only saw that that had the top part. I didn't realize it had part of that bottom part as well. Okay. Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah, like I said, the last 88 years that they made some stuff into the Yinsloth jungle and the Old Kingdom. They made roads into that as recolonization efforts.
Okay.
And then it gives you a list of all of the kingdoms, all of the major cities, all of the provinces, stuff like that, and which house controls it. And which minor houses exist within it.
Which is great for a source book. I'm guessing you're not going to get into that today.
I don't need to tell you about it. It's in here. All right, it's in here. I don't need to tell you about it. But that is the political structure of the Western Empire. Now, next, in our third segment, we're going to talk about some magic items, and I've been talking about drugs a lot. And now I'm going to actually explain some of them.
The drugs that summoners take?
The drugs that people have to take to think that summoners are a good idea.
Well, before we get into the comments here, the Palladium perspective, not necessarily yours.
Okay.
What is the Palladium perspective on the Western Empire in terms of what are its strengths or pros and what are its cons or weaknesses?
Okay. Uh, all the other countries in the Palladium fantasy world look at the Western Empire, and for pros, like they are very strong. They have a they have a good grasp of magic. They have an excellent navy. They have a society that has been around for 6,000 years. That's something. That's no joke. But they do have a very, very bad reputation because of their constant infighting that used to happen. Not in the last 80 years, no. In the last 80 years has been smooth sailing. That's why they're coming up again. They're building up. But they have a history of infighting. They have a history of drug abuse, which has lessened in the last 80 years, but is still present. And some of these drugs are bad. Like, yeah, I wouldn't. That's not weed. That's heroin. That's not good. That's not good at all. A lot of these drugs are like that's not good at all, rather than harmless fun. No, no, kill you dead. All right. So that's why the whole Empire of Sin thing is not just because of the drugs and the debauchery and the apparent lawlessness, but also because compared to other societies like the elves and the dwarves who are long lasting and stable, the Western Empire is still considered an unstable empire just because humans are more volatile than elves and dwarves and halflings and whatever. They change their minds in a generation or two. You can have a completely different idea of how to run a country from an entire country. That is ridiculous to elves and dwarves. Just absolutely ridiculous.
Do elves and dwarves live in the Western Empire?
They visit. They don't have a break. I didn't see a breakdown, but it's mostly humans. But of course, just like in any country, there's going to be inhabitants that you know aren't from there. So there will be elves and dwarves, and that will live there, and halflings and changelings. I'm sure hiding somewhere. That it's going to happen. But the vast majority of inhabitants are human.
Okay.
All right, what do we got for comments?
I pinned two, but I'll probably bring up a third. All right. This is a group I'm gaming last session. Teleported into Itamas's throne while he is asleep in his throne with the sounds of guards approaching. How do you get into an emperor's throne?
Or throne room or whatever.
Yeah.
Chalices of Dragonrite campaign, teleporting into Thomas's throne room while he is asleep in his throne. Asleep on his throne? He wouldn't be that. Into his bedroom, sleep in his bed. That would be more appropriate.
Well, sounds of guards approaching.
Oh yeah, but yeah, I don't know, man. I mean that sounds like a bad deal. I mean, yeah, they could kill the emperor, but they're not going to survive this. This is a suicide bombing. That's what this is. Your group is now dead.
Even if he negotiates with them.
Yeah, no. There is no explanation for you teleporting into the emperor's chambers without being invited at all. There's no explanation for that. The group is just going to die.
And you know what he's not going to do? Hey, just teleport in whenever you want.
Yeah, the emperor is never going to say that. And no one's going to believe you if you say he said that. So your group is dead. It's just they have between 30 and 120 seconds to do something before they die. That's how long it's going to take for the guards to kill them.
And even if the emperor's like, whoa, no, because they've got him at sword point or some crap. Don't kill him. We can work this out. The first chance he gets, even if let's just say you negotiate in his bedroom for a while or in his throne, whatever. The second they leave, they're dead. He's not gonna. But there you go.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't matter how nice a guy the emperor is. If you teleport into his bed chamber while he's asleep, you gotta die. There has to be a precedent. You got to die.
And news of that can't get out.
No. Oh, no. News of it can get out right after you've made all the precautions that it can never happen again, and to let everyone know what happens if you try something that's stupid.
Just out of curiosity, does Palladium have kind of the old, D&D like teleport rule? If you haven't visualized the area, you really can't teleport there?
Yes, there's a percentage chance of failure. If you've been there a lot, 99%. If you've only been told about it, then it goes down to like 50, 40% chance, whatever. So yeah, it does have that.
And then Lazarus here says, so basically fantasy cyberpunk political situation. Kinda.
Okay.
No, okay. Talking about Western Empire, like this, I think he was focusing on the. You were talking about the slums at this point. It's like,
right, yeah. Yeah, I mean, only the large cities have slums, but I mean, they're not huge. They're not like all encompassing, like, oh, the entire eastern part of the city is a slum. No, not like that. There's small areas. Small areas are considered slums where people go to die. But the overall citizen is much richer and has a better value of life than the average citizen in another country, because they're just that rich here. Even poor people have a better life than middle class people in another country.
All right. I said I might put another one up there. It's
up to you.
It's just some fun comments that people put, but let's move on to the last segment. Right. Do appreciate the chat, but we do need to move on here. If I can find the stupid button, there it is.
All right. In the next segment, we are going to talk about magic items, herbs, and of course, potions and drugs. Because why? Because it's the Empire of Sin. So we got to talk about the sin. We got to talk about the drugs. And like I said earlier, the drugs are no joke. The drugs are not, oh, that's not harming anyone. As long as you're not operating heavy machinery, it should be completely legal. No, these are not those kind of drugs.
They're not muscle relaxers.
No. There's like, oh, a couple of Xanax never hurt anyone. Okay. I'm not talking about that here.
Are they magical drugs?
Yes.
Oh, so it's not just shrooms, it's magical shrooms.
Yes.
Sweet.
No. But we're going to go over that next time. Tune in again and come back, and I'll tell you all about it.